This week's portion, Terumah, begins a series of portions in which we learn about the details and then the construction of the Mishkan, the portable desert sanctuary, of the construction and design of all the vessels to be used there, and also the design and execution of the vestments that the Kohanim, the priests, would wear. And so we find that the portions so far have gone in logical order from the Ten Commandments and the revelation of God at Mount Sinai to last week's portion in which we learned about all the details of the civil law code that would provide the moral, ethical, and religious framework for Israelites to run their society, to now how to then worship God. But there's a fascinating Hasidic commentary that was at the beginning of last week's portion to try to understand this logic in the presentation in the Torah from the Ten Commandments to the portion Mishpatim, the civil law code, and then to the construction of the Mishkan. Because we find at the end of the portion about the Ten Commandments a commandment from God to Moses to construct an altar made of earth and stone and to bring a sacrifice there on the altar. And then, interrupting that commandment for building the altar is the commandment in the series of commandments and laws found in the portion Mishpatim. And then, in the beginning of the portion Terumah, we're told about how people can bring free will offerings and voluntary gifts of gold and silver and other precious items to start constructing the altar and the Mishkan itself. So one Hasidic commentary found in a collection known as Oznaim La Torah asks the question, why is the portion Mishpatim interrupting the commandment to build an altar and the portions which describe the construction of the altar? And the understanding is that we need to, when we worship God, we need to do so as morally and ethically a people as we can be. In other words, we shouldn't think that we can bring a sacrifice whenever we feel like it, and that sacrifice will then compensate for any behavior weakness that we might reflect in our actions. That our behavior in how we act and our personality in how we are every day should work together with our dedication and devotion to God, so that when we brought a sacrifice, when we pray to God, when we desire a connection with the divine, we have to understand that our behavior needs to reflect that desire. And so we need to understand the ethics and morality of what it means to be a religious person. And once we understand that, then we can construct our own Mishkan. We can create a sense of religious and spiritual perspective in our lives. Shabbat Shalom.